What's up, guys? It's past 8 o'clock by 1 second. Who could blame me after having almost a 4-hour stream for the Rumble? God. Uh, welcome to Crazy Pinfalls. We've got two amazing guys, and Anakin's going to pop in at some point. This is a Michigan takeover right now, literally.
Once again.
So I want to thank Wrestling's Perspectives, Dennis Farrell. He's in the chair as the co-host tonight. And then obviously we've got Ray Angry Beaver Callahan, which is always great to see. What's good, guys? How you doing?
I'm good.
Thank you for the invite. I'm excited to be here.
Hey, I'm looking for the future. The second channel is up and running. If anybody wants to get to it, me and Rob did a soft launch on it. So go through the channel and check it out. But we're gonna do some of the stuff from that soft launch on here today, just to give people a little taste more. It was just my idea, not Rob's. Rob is actually covering Dark right now for Fightful, so that's a handful.
Wait. Time out. As the co-host, I've got to ask you, tell us about this channel.
The channel is basically for anybody to start their own show. It literally is a pet project of mine and Rob's and DK's, which I'm hoping DK will be more because he's going through his own things, where you can create your own show. It doesn't have to be a wrestling show. It could be a hockey show. It could be a sports show, life and wellness show. I have a customer for where I work interested in talking about health and wellness for an hour. That's perfectly fine for her. And I said, just let me know when you're back for your trip. We'll set it up and we'll go. The channel's called Wicked Crazy Crew TV. You can go on there, subscribe. The description's in the below. And we did a soft launch, like a mini launch on my channel, just to give you guys an idea. But Rob Wilkins is going to have a weekly show. Ray's going to get some content going on there. Everybody that's welcome to. I mean, Dennis, you're welcome to do it also. I know you guys have your own stuff though, so but it gives people the platform where instead of going in and being like the first few shows just running in dry, not doing like a soft run or anything like that, and it gives them the ability to take their stuff, lift it up, and bring it to their own channel. Right now for this channel, it's we've got some eyes going on it, but not a lot. But this channel is building, so why not open a second channel to give somebody else the opportunity I wish I had?
Dude, that's awesome. I love the fact that you're giving back to the community, whatever it is, too, not just wrestling. So kudos to you, because a lot of people in this industry don't really give back.
Yeah, so Ray's getting up on there. Wrestling Plug-in is going to have their own thing going on there. Anakin JMT, which he's one of the pillars in the chats for Fightful, he's going to be on there doing stuff. It's going to be fun to see what happens. I'm going to try do some sporting stuff. We're going to do some mock drafts this year once I get the membership for the new channel and this one for StreamYards, but we're going to be doing live Yahoo Sports drafts, mock draft, basically do the fantasy drafts live. So, baseball's coming up, so I'm hoping that stimulus check gets here quick. So that way the government can pay for me to pay for StreamYard.
Nice.
So major news coming out of multiple sources, including Wrestle Talk and Fightful, is that Lars Sullivan has been released from his WWE contracts as of the last month or month before that. So we're assuming right now, well, I'll be the one as soon as no one gets in trouble, is, maybe December, last month or so. What do you guys think of Lars Sullivan no longer being a WWE product?
Ray?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not super surprised. I know he had some heat on him over a variety of things that he had done. And I mean, he'd had some injuries, but I did know that Vince really liked him too. So he felt like a little protected. So I'm curious to see if this is him just saying, all right, I'm done, or if they really let him go, because I don't think we really know what happened. But I mean, I never really liked him. Like, even before all this stuff came out, like when he first debuted, I kind of went, like he didn't do it for me. And they booked him strong, but he never really was my style. So I'm not like super bummed. Like, you hate to see someone lose a job, but I'm not bummed about it from a story perspective. I don't like the things that he said in some of those forums. I don't like some of the stuff that he's had with the DMs and stuff. The movie thing, that's his own damn business. I don't care. But all the other stuff, to me, it's it's the business being the business. So
We have the 2030 Royal Rumble winner in now. It is a full Michigan takeover right now. What are your thoughts, Dennis, about Lars Sullivan?
Ray kind of hit it on the head here, where I have trouble following someone as a entertainer if I don't like this person as a person. And Lars Sullivan did nothing redeeming as a person for me to really get behind him. Whether it was his tweets or his blatant racism, I just checked out the second they signed the guy. Even before that, when things were breaking and nobody cared because he wasn't that big of a deal. So for him to be released, I believe in second chances. I don't think this guy has done enough to warrant a second chance. He hasn't seemed remorseful, at least enough for me to root for this guy to bounce back on his feet somewhere. So as far as I'm concerned today, right now, good riddance.
What do you think, Anakin, about Lars Sullivan being released today?
I mean, it's not surprising considering he hadn't been used since October. That was the last match that he had.
Do we know why?
Why he hadn't been used?
Yeah, like, was he hurt or did they just quit using him?
From what I remember from the select report, Vince just suddenly decided he just didn't like him anymore. He just fell out of favor with Vince, and if you're on the main roster and you fall out of favor with Vince, you just don't get used.
Sure.
But I mean, there's no excusing the stuff that he had said and done before. But there, it was mentioned by multiple people that he did go around to several different people backstage and personally apologize to them, which is very different from what we've seen of apologies, like from Hogan, for example, who basically just apologized for getting caught. Lars seemed to actually realize, hey, I was dumb back then. I was stupid and I said stupid things, and I regret those. And the fact that he personally went to several people and personally apologized, I gives him more credit with me. As far as the adult film stuff, I mean, look, that certainly wouldn't be my choice for something, but I think people who were giving him flack over that, it's like, look, it wasn't illegal. It's not what he did there, and quite honestly, it's like, look, he did it before he did wrestling, and it shouldn't matter. And we'd heard that while he didn't have any heat backstage for that, is that, oh, Vince would never see him the same way again. Which, if that's the case, that's on Vince. That's on Vince for not being able to be like, you know what, it doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect my business. I don't care.
Well, for me, it's more so like he what he said is said. It's out there in the public eye. Everybody can see it. Him doing porn, let's be honest, we could say that word, the internet is for porn according to Cookie Monster. It's one of those things where he needs to make a living, and that's that. Now, between the person and the character they made is a badass, monster that they created, but it didn't work out, especially in this times. You also got to remember, we're going to be almost in 3 months, 1 year, if I'm remembering right. Yeah, 1 year of the mass releases for WWE. Mm-hmm. So, and I'll say the same thing I said then. We're in unprecedented times where people are dealing with people getting sick on a regular basis. COVID is still present in this current era, and sadly, considering they're considered independent contractors, they should, be considered as regular employees and get those benefits, but they don't. They have to supply it themselves. So him not working, let's say 2 months from now, God forbid this ever happens, and I'm disclaiming I did not predict this, but let's say he gets COVID or something like that, he has to pay out of pocket. Mm-hmm. it's one of those things. I'm like, I get flack for sometimes saying that I've been Benoit, where, you know, if the roles were reversed and he was alive, everything was just normal in life, no murder, no nothing, you know, he would have to pay for all these things. Nobody should lose their job over certain aspects. What he said was wrong, and he admitted it, and everybody deserves another chance in life. But with COVID being around, I would hate for him to lose his job over something where now he has to, you know, supply for his own benefits of health and wellness in long term.
Well, and I don't think any of that really factors in here, because I mean, they knew about the comments when they signed him, and it didn't bother him. The video coming out, that was a long time ago, and realistically, like, they're not firing anybody over that. So until we know why he's gone, I think that's just kind of all throwing stuff at the wall. But for me, it really was just, I didn't enjoy his work. Like, to be an entertaining big man, you have to do more than go roar, because that's really all he could do.
Mm-hmm.
And
you know, he's got.
Hold on. But let's get Dennis's 2 cents since he's quiet, because I don't like people quiet that much.
You know what? I was consuming everything you guys said, but you hit on something that strikes a nerve. And the majority of us see past it, but there's always this pocket of wrestling fans and people in the wrestling industry is, well, he did porn, it's all right. But when a girl does porn, we're going to slut shame her, or she's going to lose her spot at the top and move down. And this way of thinking has to stop. It doesn't matter. Listen, I don't care what you did before you went into any industry. You did what you had to do. You live with those consequences. And if you perform well at your job, even in the wrestling business, you should be able to do it. But the fact that we go, he did porn, no big deal. But there's a female wrestler out there, and I saw in the chat, someone said Candice Michelle.
Yeah, I was going to point that out. Aaron Entertainment, yep.
And there's been numerous other female wrestlers who have lost their jobs or their status in the company because of what they've done, or someone found out many years afterwards. This way of thinking has to stop in the wrestling industry, especially from us men, that, hey, a guy can do it. It's cool, man. He's out, you know, banging chicks. But when a girl does it, we slut shame her and knock her down a notch. So I'm not a huge fan of that way of thinking.
Not to mention
I think for me though, it's different. We're just to touch that piggyback what Dennis says is that we as humans, we need to make a living. After a certain age, we're always taught you have to make a living no matter what the sacrifices. Yes, you have your choice on what you're doing, but at the end of the day, you still have bills to pay. You know, you're a teenager or a college student, you still have to pay for college. You still have to pay for your living expenses, your car and stuff. And some people turn to a lifestyle that other people who are not understanding about to make a living. We don't know their situations. Candice Michelle's situation when she was doing that stuff, Lars' situation when he was doing that stuff, and many other people. I'm not condoning what certain people do in their lives, but because I was always taught nobody can judge me at all for what I do. The only person who can judge me is an Irish woman who is 5'2" and has a frying pan. And God bless her. I love my mom and she's not alive, but still, to this day, any woman with a frying pan that spins it and that's 5'2", that's like my mom, I am deathly scared. So, I mean, that's the only woman in your life you should be afraid of.
Yeah, and I mean, realistically, the wrestling industry, WWE specifically, WWF at the time, whatever you want to call it, they were profiting off of the counter of this. Like, they were pushing to get some of their female stars in Playboy. They did it with Chyna, they did it with Tori, they did it with Sable, they did it with a bunch of women. Like, it's kind of that same thing of like, you're profiting here when it's the other way. So I don't think he had any heat dealing with that. You know, the report that Vince can't look at him the same. I don't look at and I know Vince runs the show, whatever. He's a 75-year-old man who's not going to think progressively anyways. I really don't I don't care what Vince thinks in that. And again, he did something that was legal, consensual, none of our business. And again, it's how he made his money. But yeah, again,
you know, and the one thing that he can hang his hat on, that will be able to help him with wrestling is he does have a 5-star match under his belt that North American ladder match at New Orleans. Yeah, he was a part of that. And here's the thing: he was good in that match. He did his job in that match. He was fine in that match. He was definitely not the favorite. Like, he was the one guy who, when he started climbing up the ladder, he was the one guy who got booed. Like, everybody else was getting cheers. Even Dream at the time, who that we didn't know. And the fact of the matter is Dream is somebody who's still on the company payroll, who has arguably has done worse things and hasn't apologized for them.
I don't think there's an argument about it.
Yeah. Whereas Lars, he did try and apologize. He did try and make amends for it, and he did just try and do his job. And I think what this comes down to is them just going, look, we're not using him. Whatever we were trying with him is not working. I think he's just another example of something that was able to work in NXT at Full Sail, and then comes up to the main roster, and it just doesn't work. Well, and they tried using him a couple more times and repackaging him, and it just didn't work out. And it is unfortunate, but he can still find stuff to do in like GCW or something else. Like, he should still be able to find work.
Anakin, don't make me put you in the corner.
No, I'm done.
I know once you get going, if someone says I'll put you in the corner.
I was wrapping up anyway.
But the thing is that I wanted to ask Dennis this because obviously he sees it from a different perspective, being a part of the the podcast side of everything. Go check out their stuff at Wrestling Perspective. Awesome stuff. I really mean it, especially when you have Dimitri Young on there. It's awesome to see everything that you guys have been doing. What do you think, if you were a business, and this is not a wrestling question, it's a business question, obviously, and I partially know this answer doing marketing in high school. If you were running WWE and you released Lars after knowing all of this stuff, and you have Dream on there and other people, doesn't this look bad for you as a PR standpoint? You're releasing somebody that has a lot of baggage in that respect.
So strictly from a business standpoint, all right, this is where I'm going to come from. I look at who can I make more money with. Let's assume they both have the same baggage here, right? And although I don't think Dream's been charged with anything, and you want to go with the innocent until proven guilty, and we may not like to say it. I hate saying it like this, but they're both about the same at this point. Allegations are allegations, and guilty should be fired and moved on. The innocent, unfortunately, sometimes the public opinion is stronger and brings down a more harsher justice than the justice system itself. But all things being equal, and the question that you proposed to me is, I look at who I can make more money with. And personally, I think I can make more money with Velveteen Dream than I can with Lars Sullivan going forward. Velveteen looks better. He's a better athlete. Is so much in every aspect. You compare him to Lars, he outshines Lars Sullivan. So if I had to choose, Lars would go, because I feel like money is money in this business.
I kind of agree on that, but I also look at it as like, if for a PR perspective, that this could turn around and give WWE a PR hit, whereas like he had that nervous breakdown and everything, obviously all that baggage he said, but knowing the wrestling community as we do, and a lot of people who are a little loco in the cabeza, they could point out that this does not look good for WWE because of the whole mental wellness aspect of it for him. But I'm just saying,
though,
I'm just saying that somebody could actually just point that out that doesn't know the whole scenario, though.
But I don't think he has the star power to draw that kind of attention. And I think when you have the counter of like the recent DMs issue, like that stuff is going to play into that. And again, when there's no star power, no one's going to really complain. And they've released more controversially, like think of when they let Zelina go. They got some heat on it, but like no one's talking about it. And I think her no compete is up pretty soon. So props to her. Good luck. But I mean, I don't think they're going to catch that much heat over it.
I think you could make an argument if they released him immediately, but they kept him on the payroll for how long afterwards? They can make a case that, listen, we kept him on the payroll. We provided him with, certain opportunities to get better. And at some point, whether you get better or not, money's money. They're not a charity.
Mm-hmm. And I think Sean mentioned this in the video when he mentioned Lars being released. His future isn't necessarily over. As much as I don't like his work, he does sell well to, and I hate this because I'm just starting to get into this company, but he would work in New Japan, I think, as this kind of big monstery American guy, that because they like that once in a while. So he could work there and he'd be fine.
As a dark horse, I think one place he could go, and a lot of people are saying this quietly, not that I'm probably the only drum that's beating that drum, is ROH. And that's because ROH is not high-end. They're high profile, but they're not AEW, WWE, New Japan, Impact. We're a place where he could restart and rebuild like a lot of people do. Wrestling, World Press, the major wrestling league,
MLW.
I don't know if that could do it.
I don't know if he fits in MLW, but I mean, maybe.
Here's a more interesting question for you guys. Who would you compare Lars Sullivan leaving WWE now and where he could be to who has been in this position? Because I kind of think Ryback. If you look at the two guys, their career paths, I mean, Ryback has been a little bit injury prone. I don't know if Lars Sullivan has a love for the wrestling industry to go beat down the indie door and try to rehab his image and work his way back up. I think if you were to compare a career path, this might be the next Ryback we're looking at as far as career path.
I think it's a hybrid aspect of it. I think it's a little bit of big cast because of the athletic part of it that Lars does have at some points, but Ryback definitely.
I think Ryback was a little further over at that point when he got let go, but I do see that.
So you're saying we're gonna get a Lars Sullivan podcast in a couple of years?
Hey, you never know. Anakin and JMT might be blocked from that, like half the people in the wrestling media are.
No, the only person I know has blocked me is Shawn Michaels, and I have no idea why, and it makes me sad.
I do. I know exactly why, and it's probably why I'm going to block you later, but I do it out of love.
Okay.
Anyways, the Rumble was really good. If you watch the watch along, Anakin basically took the entire show over without me having to say a word. It's one of those things that was a really good pay-per-view start to finish. What are some of the surprises you have, Dennis, from the Rumble?
The heat the ending of the Roman Reigns Kevin Owens match got. I thought the ending was perfect considering where that angle is going. I really loved the how creative it got. It made you believe that Kevin Owens had the chance to win that match, and he was mere seconds away from doing it until he got screwed. And I was kind of shocked at how lackluster the men's Royal Rumble was. Had a few good moments, but I think the women's Royal Rumble outshined it 3 times easily.
I think for me, the women's Rumble, there was one major botch that a lot of people are now pointing out, but it's nitpicking at that point.
Which part are you talking about?
At the end of the match, towards the tail end of the match, when it was Bianca and Rhea, and they're doing the skin of the cat moment, Bianca touched the floor. Somebody went back through the tape, looked at it closely, and both of her feet touched the floor. Rhea should literally be the Rumble winner.
Well,
but that's not the case. That always never happens. I mean, we've had double finishes. I mean, I watched the day of the 2014 Royal Rumble with Batista, and they're talking about how Vince broke both quads when he was running down when him and Cena both touched the floor at the same time.
He's just sitting in the ring.
Well, and that's what happened in the 2000 Rumble, because it was supposed to be Rock winning it clean, but because of what happened, it actually ended up being, I think, Rock's feet touched the floor first, and that's what Big Show used later on Raw. He's like, "Look, here's the video footage of what happened here. I should have won the Rumble. I should go to Mania." That's how Show got in that Mania, in that McMahon in every corner WrestleMania match. So, you know.
But match-wise, I think you've already talked about this, Anakin, on the live stream when we did it.
Mhm.
That Roman, Owens match was unworldly.
Yeah.
And if that's the way they're going to end things, that's the cherry on top, and that was great.
I just wish they hadn't messed up the handcuff.
So
spot. That's unfortunate.
So when the handcuff thing was happening, I immediately said, like, because the handcuffs are on his wrist and then on like the pole,
Mhm.
and I immediately said, why are you going after the one on his hand? That one's harder to get to. They should have just had him do the one that was on the pole that was further out.
Mhm.
Like that would have made it easier. Or
Well, it looked like Heyman was going back and forth, like he was trying to figure out which one to keep
Yeah.
it into.
Yeah, and I mean, again, you're scripting this. Get the ones that are just the quick release. Like you don't have to use real handcuffs.
Yeah.
The rest of this is fake anyways.
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah.
no, the Bianca thing, it's scripted. Like she was gonna win it. Like I don't take too much of an issue with that. What I wouldn't be surprised if now, because they're gonna try to fix it, if they go, oh, well, maybe we do a triple threat and Rhea and Bianca both get in the match. I could see them doing that. I hope they don't, because I mean the refs didn't see it. How often do they ever go back and go, hey, video evidence is going to overturn the play on the field?
Yeah.
Like they don't do that. So
this ain't the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't care about that. That moment at the end was fantastic. And if anyone tries to take it away, I'll punch you. Not really.
Physical force on the show.
I think
I loved it.
I think some people are looking into it a little bit too much and being like, "Oh, it's a race thing because Bianca's black and they're trying to take away her win because it's black." I don't think that's why there are people that have an issue with it. I think it's just a logic thing, but it's like, look, she won it, and Rhea can win Chamber and get her own match. Like that's fine. We don't need to be. We don't no.
I just loved seeing Jillian Hall and Victoria. That was awesome too.
At least,
Billy and Jilly.
I literally on screen when Jillian Hall came out, I literally said, "You've got to be kidding me! Like this is who they're going to bring out." But she was good, and apparently she has done stuff in the Indies. I had no idea. I just remember
a little.
Well, still, I had no idea because the only thing I know her of is singing really bad and Boogeyman eating that mole.
So we're gonna go from here and talk about the next couple of months, and we'll spitball some stuff for Mania, considering we know who the two matches so far, speculating on what people saying for Mania. I'm gonna give you guys the winners of the Rumble, and you're gonna tell me who do they face and who wins. We're just gonna play broadcasting, fantasy book in a little bit on this, because we do have 2 pay-per-views coming up. We actually have one in about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. So
really?
Yeah, it's the 21st.
Yeah.
So we have Takeover next week and then another pay-per-view the following week.
Takeover's the 14th.
No, you're right.
Chambers 21st.
Oh,
and then because February is 28 days, Fastlane is also the 21st,
which is the last pay-per-view on the network.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's going to be fun, but I wanted to we'll go back to the Peacock deal too, because I wanted to get Dennis' thoughts on that stuff too. We'll do fantasy booking just for the fun of it. We'll start with Edge. Who's he facing? Who's coming out of Mania the winner? And who's his next challenger afterwards?
Wow, that's a good question. And I'll be honest, I don't know if I care. And I'm not saying it. This is the problem with Edge is we want him to wrestle everybody, and we want it to happen fast before an injury or he decides he has to retire again. And Edge is one of those guys that I want to sit back and watch a storyline happen. I don't want to watch him and Finn Balor over 3 weeks and then it's gone, and then he jumps right into this guy and right into this guy. So I want him to pick somebody. I want it to happen naturally. I don't think Damian Priest is the right opponent. I'm not even sure Finn Balor is. I don't want to see a Randy Orton him again. I've seen people talk about Big E. I think that might be fun because both those guys are great on the mic, and the banter between them are phenomenal. I just saw Aaron post in the chat about Roman Reigns. I'm worried about that because Roman Reigns is so hot right now. This guy is actual money. and you put them up against Edge, someone has to win, someone has to lose. And I don't want to see both those guys, one of those guys in that storyline lose.
What about you, Ray?
If he goes after Roman, he has to lose. I mean, the idea of spear versus spear, but like Roman has to like slaughter him if that's going to be what happens. And I don't want to see that. I think going after Drew makes more sense. And he works a lot better as a heel, but everyone loves him right now. So I really liked what he did on Raw last night, where everyone's going to love him for being kind of that, like, dude, why are you being friendly? Like when he was doing that, that was kind of that heelish type of stuff that we like from him. So I would like to see it be that heel angle. And I can see Drew being the type of person who goes, I've had the title basically since last year at Mania, minus that short little run that Orton had. Like I could see Drew saying, I'm okay with dropping the title to Edge so he can get his last title. And I wouldn't have an issue with that. You mentioned Edge going with Big E. I want to see Big E go with Christian.
Mm-hmm.
That would be fun. But I think going after Drew is the smarter way. I just hope that they don't try to do something where they put the title on Randy in between these next two pay-per-views, and then they do Edge and Orton for the title. I don't want to see that again, but
Anakin?
I don't want Edge to face Roman because I just don't. I see the appeal of it, but that's not that's not a match I particularly am like all giddy about seeing. And I love Edge, and I like what Roman's doing. That's just not a match I've got particular strong feelings towards. I don't really have that way towards Drew either. Like for me, like Edge winning the Rumble is like, well, cool. It's not Orton, because nobody wanted Orton to win again, because that was especially because
it would have been 3.
Yeah, exactly. And nobody was, and in last time that he won, it was like, well, at least it's not Roman, and
For me, I already put this scenario out in the universe, so I'm just going to repeat it again. I want Edge and Roman, and I want to see how there's a saying, the man doesn't make the title, right? The title makes the man. In this case, it's the other way around. Roman's making the title.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to see a Roman that chases. When he came back at SummerSlam and destroyed, the Fiend and Strowman, he literally just came in, destroyed it, no DQ. Next pay-per-view, he was supposed to be part of the match, came in at the last second, won. He only wrestled maybe 3 minutes.
That was his last pin, by the way.
Yeah. I want to see a Roman who's so eager and so devastated that he's willing to do whatever it takes to get the title back. And that, to me, having Roman being devastated and being dangerous is a Roman I like. So have Edge win at Mania against Roman, have Roman sit in the back stewing and figuring ways to get and scheme with Heyman to come and get it. Bryan wins the title at SummerSlam, gives Bryan the last title run he wants, and then you have Bryan versus Roman at, like, say, a pay-per-view before, Survivor Series or something in the latter half of the year, and that will set up Roman being a fresh Roman as a champion going against The Rock, which is going to be in Dallas at AT&T Stadium. It gives Roman a gap in between, because a lot of his matches have been like, last man standing, stuff like that, with all these speculations. I want to see a very dangerous Roman, to the point where you literally know he is the head of the table. The question is, what would he do if he lost it?
See, but the thing is I think Tribal Chief Roman, like, he works best with the title. It's like when Miz was at the top of him being a heel, that, Miz as a heel is best when he's got a title. It doesn't work. Like the heel stuff he's doing right now, nobody likes it. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing with Roman. Roman can't call himself the tribal chief, the breadwinner, the head of the table if he doesn't have a title.
And that's why I'm saying it would be perfect to see what Roman would do to go to any length.
I just don't know how do you book the match to make me believe that, and again, no disrespect, because he is legend personified, one of the greatest of all time. But how are you convincing me that Edge in his current state is beating Roman when they essentially are like similar in-ring performers? I mean, we talk about it as spear versus spear. I don't want to get a spear from Edge, but I'll take one from Edge before I'll take one from Roman, because I'm afraid Roman would split me in half. Edge would just really hurt me.
What do you think?
I hear what you're saying, and I think in theory, if we knew this was setting up for Roman to face anybody else but The Rock, it would work. But the problem is, The Rock is on a different level. So to get Roman even close to that level, he can't lose that title.
Yeah.
He's got to win week in, week out, whether it's cheating or not. You have to build this guy up. And I think if he lost the title and had to chase it, instead of moving up, he's moving sideways and away. And then you have to work twice as hard for me to believe that he's the tribal chief. I think from here on out, he's got to have some dominant performances. Mm-hmm. And maybe this might be one of those situations where it might be the Edge and Roman, and we get a Brock Lesnar John Cena situation where, you know what, John Cena just was out of his league, gets suplexed 20-something times, I believe. I don't remember the number off the head. Yeah. And that might be what we need, is a dominant Roman Reigns performance. And it wouldn't hurt Edge. If Edge just got destroyed against Roman Reigns, Edge is still Edge. If Edge beats Roman, Roman goes down.
Yeah.
So I can't see any other situation than to have Roman just destroy him and build him up that much more for The Rock.
And I don't
go ahead.
I don't know why I didn't think of this. This might be the way that they go with Rock or with Roman and Edge, because we know that Edge is this close away from basically death. You want to squash him. You want to make us fear for Edge's safety. You have your squash match set up. And I know we don't normally do that off of a Rumble, but if you want to really put Roman over, make us think he's killing Edge in the ring. Edge is so over that what does he lose from that? It
just hit me too that he gets to face a champion of his choosing. This is me spitballing in fantasy booking out of left field. I do this from time to time.
If you say UK.
I think because of how Edge is a person, how he is naturing as a performer and stuff, I can see him say, I want Balor.
I was going to suggest that because he's showing up tomorrow night.
Balor won't be the champion though. I think Cross. I think if him and Cross have a match where it makes Cross a lot more stronger, and Edge either gets it or not, that's fine. But I think he's at that point in his career where, he wants a major title. And I consider the NXT at this point being, because it's on USA now, the major title for that brand. I think it would be a great way for him to be like what he did for Priest, but in a match.
And I will say this. F4W Online.
Everybody's looking at me like they want to chomp at the bit at this. So why don't we let Dennis get at it first, Anakin?
You know what? I'll make mine short and sweet. As much as that sounds like fun, I'm just not a fan of established main roster guys who have zero NXT ties going back down to NXT. Yeah. That's just my only hang up there. I'm not even a fan of Edge showing up this week to cut a promo or even take a pin from somebody because he's got no tie-ins. If it was anybody else who had that NXT pedigree, I might be for it. And even still then, it's something bad taste in my mouth where if you can't make it at the main roster, well, I'll just go back to NXT and do what I do best. I'm not a fan of that thinking.
Yeah, and even like when they did it with Flair last year, like it was working until they screwed it up at Mania. Like I liked the idea because she has NXT roots, and the pin was the only issue. Rhea should have won that match, but
yeah, well, Charlotte was working, Rhea was not.
Yeah, and
I would say.
Well, and again, that's the way they booked her. But if Edge was to go back to a brand he was never on and face Karrion Kross, if he was to face Kross, I would have no issue with that. If again you're trying to show Kross as this monster, he kills Edge.
Now I will say that that F4W Online did report that right now they're looking at doing Edge and Roman at Mania. But here's the thing: the way that right now, I see the only way Roman loses the title: Money in the Bank cash in, Raw after Mania next year. You don't do it this year. Let Roman go all the way until Mania next year. Give him that super long reign, which will not only help to continue to establish the Universal title as being this big thing, but establishing Roman as the tribal chief. And they're going to want to fill 100,000 people in AT&T Stadium next year. Whatever the COVID situation is, which hopefully won't be really an issue by then, and that's why doing Rock and Roman then to help fill that stadium is the way to go. And Roman, I think, has to win that match because you can't put Rock over Roman and having Rock say, "Well, no, I'm still the head of the table." You have Roman win that match, and then the next night, whoever's got the Money in the Bank, that's how Roman loses the title.
But Dennis, do you think that he's going to reach, if they keep Roman having the title at the Punk length, where he's like close to 300, 350, 340 kind of aspect of it?
I don't think so much that aspect as much as what he's doing right now with his gimmick and that personality. The fans are being robbed of a true experience, not being able to be there. But I'll be honest, not so much the length. But if you keep him being strong and you book him going over, you won't have any problems making me believe that he can take on an aging Rock.
Yeah, it would make sense on that. But we'll go to the next winner. Same questions, guys. Bianca Belair, who do you see her facing at Mania? Who comes out as the champion?
Go ahead.
So here's my one major criticism of the WWE, and they do a poor job of booking African-American athletes. This is something I've been very verbal and outspoken about on my podcast and anywhere I go, and they've not given me any confidence that they will book her or treat her right. I hope that she goes over and beats someone like Charlotte Flair, who has that pedigree and can take her to the next level, but I just don't think that they're going to do the right thing with her. I pray. Someone said Sasha Banks, exception to the rule, but the rule is still the rule. They gave Big E the Intercontinental Champion, but does that mean that they've done a good job in the past 30 years of booking African-American athletes? I
think he meant as the person to go against Bianca.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
But and I could see that. That would
he was like, okay, good. We got almost close to that line.
Yeah. But they've done a poor job of booking African-American athletes. And I pray going forward that maybe Bianca could be that one person that can change the culture. I thought New Day was going to be able to do it, but they've just kind of gotten to the top of the glass ceiling and didn't quite break it.
Yeah, I think Sasha Banks is the go-to. I think Asuka and Flair is going to end up being the Raw Mania title. And I completely agree with what you said. They have not booked African Americans well, but the idea that you can do, and what I would like to see is Banks and Belair as the night one main event, because two African American women main eventing a WrestleMania is something that these two women both deserve. They earned it. I think the world of Bianca Belair, push that woman to the moon, because she will print you money all day long. But knowing the way that they do things, I would hope that she wins, but if they're going to have her lose, there's one way that I'm okay with it. And it's that it's a banger of a match and she just doesn't quite get it. And then after the match, she turns heel. And she turns heel on the fact that she's pissed because she knew she was better, but she was overconfident. And then you can run it back at SummerSlam if you want to. But I again, I think the world of Bianca. I legitimately had to, do one of these when the match was done, watching her just pumping that fist, pointing at the sign. I hate the pointing at the sign, but hers was fantastic. I am all in favor of Bianca Belair all day long.
I'll give mine and then I'll have Anakin do it. I think Sasha is the go-to. That's kind of easy to print money. I think Rhea is going to go after Asuka. I think you need to keep away from Charlotte from Asuka because we've seen WWE obviously has a habit of rehashing the same match. It's the definition of insanity. You want that you're doing something over and over again and expecting a different result. I could see Rhea going against Asuka, and then I'm going to throw a name out because obviously NXT is going to be with 2 nights of content that they have to put out. I could see, and this is just a throwing in there because of how good of a match they had at the Great American Bash, Bayley and Io. I mean, that would be an interesting match all in itself. So now you have all 3 of your horsewomen doing something because you could have Charlotte go after a different match, go after something, and you have Bayley and Bianca as the main event. Bayley's got something she's got to do with Io, which that match was insane. And then you have Rhea, who's supposed to be, white hot after everything with the Rumble, going against Asuka. You have all 3 of your brand's champions doing something, and they're all booked strong. And that would make more sense. I don't want to see Charlotte and Asuka for the 7th or 8th time in the span of 4 years, 4 or 5 years. I don't want that anymore. We've seen that match. We know how that song ends. It's going to end the same way. Charlotte wins, says she beats Asuka, that she's always been ready for Asuka. I mean, come on, give me something different.
I think realistically, that title is what you see in one of the chamber matches, is the Raw title.
So for me, Bianca and Sasha, Bianca and Sasha, Bianca and Sasha. That's what I've been wanting. Bianca and Sasha. That's an easy thing, and I agree. Main event, night 1, Mania, done.
Did anybody get who he wants?
What?
Did anybody get who he wants? Because I didn't catch it.
But here's the thing, and throwback, you're gonna get upset with me, but hear me out. Let me present it. Okay. Let me present it.
If you better watch on a fine line because I still haven't bought in your jersey.
let me present it. What I want to see at Mania for the Raw title, I want a rematch of last year. Charlotte and Rhea. Rhea gets the win back. She takes the Raw title from Charlotte. This means yes, you have Charlotte and Asuka do it. Put it in the chamber so that it's not a direct thing. I'm fine with that. Do it that way. And does this mean that Charlotte gets one more title reign to her record to glow? Yes. I don't care.
She's gonna get a couple of those anyways.
Exactly. And at least if you're doing it in chamber, it's not a one-on-one match. You can have Asuka get eliminated before Charlotte even actually enters the match. You don't have to have them. Actually interacting at all. I mean, they just did that with Cena in 2017.
That problem with that theory is that okay? So you have out of the 8, there's what total of 6 chambers, and then. Yeah, so out of the 2 you're already saying who the rest in the chamber, you're going to end up having to put Rhea in the chamber. That dilutes the idea of having her in a match.
I mean,
you don't have to because she's not even actually up yet.
Yeah,
and I mean they just brought back Naomi.
Yeah,
you can put Lana in there and she can quickly lose.
I like Lana's work, but her and that.
All you need is bodies. That's all you need. All you need is bodies. It's like the Rumble. Not everybody who's in there is going to actually win. Not everybody in the chamber
I'm
actually
sorry,
has a good
Anakin.
shot of
Drowning Pool is not
winning.
playing in the background. There ain't no bodies hitting this floor.
That
Guys,
you know, but then you have Rhea getting her win back because she can go, look, you beat me a year ago. I lost
All
my
right.
edge. I lost who I was. There's a great story there. And then as far as Bailey, let her
Dennis
just
is
have a
itching
regular.
for this, so let him get into
I
Let her
it.
just have a regular feud with Naomi.
Listen,
That's what I want.
you are so close on your booking, but I am 99.9% with you. But here's what I think. I think you put Ripley in there, and you have Ripley cost Charlotte the championship in that match. And then I want to see those two fight for a number one contender. I think that match between those two would be so much more impactful if it wasn't for a championship. You just have a straight out grudge match. They hate each other. They're going to beat each other just for the fun of it. Sometimes when you put a championship on the line, it might dilute where they're trying to go and take away from what the end of the story is. But could you imagine that moment in a chamber where Ripley costs Charlotte the championship? I don't know how. Maybe, she knocks Charlotte off, a 3-count pin and someone else gets it. But I want something there to drive. Other than you took my win a year ago, I'm still angry. You have to reignite that fire to get me reinterested in those two.
And realistically, if you're worried about Rhea taking a pin in a chamber, book it to not look bad. Have Rhea be the first one in, have Flair be the last one in. Rhea runs the gauntlet and she's the last one eliminated. Yes, did she just get pinned by Flair? Yes, but Flair had 20 minutes less in the match or whatever the timing ends up being. So there's a reason why you won and not me. Let's run this back at Mania. And then Hunter can claim that this was the plan all along, even though we know that's garbage.
After reliving it in my head what just happened at the end of the Rumble match with those three, I can see Dennis's scenario play out a lot more efficiently, especially how Charlotte looked at the end. But that would make more sense, especially if you do it at Fastlane and having them two go at it for the number one contendership. That would bridge all the pay-per-views for that. So we'll see.
I mean, it could work. I just think like Bailey and Sasha wouldn't have worked as well if there hadn't been a title. And I just don't see how WWE could have this story work well.
I think you're wrong in that aspect. I think with them without the title, as good as they are, you could set up a match or a grudge match where, let's say they take the Hell in the Cell match out of the equation. They do a special type of match or like that. If people have been saying this, Fight Pit, they want the Fight Pit on the main roster. Let's just play devil's advocate, put them in the Fight Pit. You know how many people without a title, they're going to be like, oh my God, Sasha and Bailey in a Fight Pit, the first women's Fight Pit. They're the first women's and in the NXT to do an Iron Woman match. I mean, it whatever they do, it, like Ray just says, it prints money, but Dennis's scenario plays out more efficient because for me, even though Rhea is not up there, it makes more sense to have her go after a number one contendership match. If you're really going to give Charlotte the title at Chamber, Rhea can come up and start that program off the bat and go after that title. Or you could have Asuka not keeping the title and having people trying to get a number one contendership match and make that match a triple threat. But his scenario makes more sense.
And here's the problem. The casual fan may not remember Charlotte Flair and Ripley from a year ago. So if you're going to try to bring this back a year later, you have to do something to reignite that flame to get us interested again. And just having Ripley show up and say, you beat me a year ago, I'm angry, isn't going to work.
And the other thing, we keep looking at this. I just thought of this. We keep looking at this as the Charlotte with the belt Rhea goes after. It doesn't have to be that way. We can flip it, because if we really want to make up for last year's WrestleMania, let Rhea have the Raw title and Flair goes after her and Flair fails. When you do that chamber match, let Rhea win the title in the chamber match. You want to talk about a debut for someone on a brand? Winning a title your first pay-per-view, they ain't done that like since Brock. So
Heck, you want to go a step further, have Ripley cost Charlotte that belt, and then Charlotte go to NXT to try to get that revenge and go after her.
It's good.
There's multiple aspects of it. Since everybody's already tapped on that one person's name, he didn't win anything, but I just want to see what you guys think. Christian versus Big E for the IC title.
Yeah,
I want to hint on that because there's a lot of meat of that story into it. Who do you think comes out as the IC champion at Mania, Dennis? Because they're definitely going to save Christian and Big E till Mania.
You know what? If Christian, and it all signs point to him coming back as a part-time wrestler, I still want to see Big E do it. I'm not a big fan of part-time wrestlers coming out and winning things. As much as I love Christian, as much as I love Edge, WWE has this habit of dusting off someone we haven't seen in years, and all of a sudden they leapfrog the whole field and have a title opportunity. What happened to the days of having to earn it and work your way up? It's gone. We saw that with Goldberg, which was horrible, by the way. If we spend 30 seconds talking about this, I'm leaving. That's how strongly
it's a Goldberg free zone right now.
Yeah,
good.
Well, and I think with Christian, they within storyline can actually give you a reason because he won that Intercontinental shot at a title, and I think he's intelligent enough to be like, you want me to beat Big E? No, I'm not beating Big E. Just give me the match. And I'm with you. Like, I don't want to see him. I don't think we're going to get that at Mania. I don't think that's the match that we're getting, but I would like to see Edge and Christian reunite and run with a couple of tag teams. Street Profits versus Edge and Christian. Like, yeah. And these two guys they're legends. So WWE can go, they're not on a brand. This is a specialty. Enjoy it while we have it. We're going to bounce them around because the brand split doesn't matter for these guys.
Yeah, and my point is that there is a story already built into this. Did you guys see the WWE Intercontinental Champion Anniversary special that they did? It was on YouTube. They had Orton, Christian, and The Miz on it. Towards the tail end of it, Christian kept prodding The Miz because Miz had the title at the time. He was like, I still owned a number one contendership match for the IC title. Never know. I might end up coming back and I might beat you for that IC title. And you hear Mike being like, anytime. And that could be your storyline, that Christian can be like, I'm still the de facto number one contender for the IC title. All these guys are pretenders. I was on the shelf for the longest time and nobody got me a chance. But that's what they could do. And if Christian presents the story properly.
And Big E's already tweeted that he's down for it. So
the only way I could accept Christian beating E is if it's announced before the match. Like, let's say they do the match at Mania. The only way that I'd be fine with Christian actually winning the title is if it's announced before, win, lose, or draw, this is Christian's last match. And he retires. He's going to retire no matter what. He does a Trish Stratus in 2006 and retires as the champion. That's
and then
it.
Comes back in a decade.
Because then he gets his WrestleMania moment that he's never. Well, I mean, he's had moments as part of being a tag team. He's never had those moments as a singles guy. That would be his chance to get his moment. But you're right. There's a lot to mine in having Edge and Christian reuniting the tag team and doing different tag teams. And I do think there is something there for a potential Edge and Christian match because we got one match between the two of them in 2001 when they first split. And that's it. Because other than that, they haven't really crossed paths. Like, they've been in like multi-man matches, but they've never gone one-on-one with each other. I do think there is a story there that they could tell for one match, and it doesn't have to be heel versus heel. It can just simply be, look, you've been gone a long time. I just got back to who's really the best. You do one match, and then you have them do a tag team stuff. But other than that, yeah, I don't think Christian should win the title.
Can I play devil's advocate here for a second? And as great as it sounds to see an Edge and Christian reunion, do we really want that? I mean, truthfully, Seeing these two guys in the ring, I'm excited and I'm happy. But they haven't been Edge and Christian for what, almost 20 years, it feels like, maybe 50.
Mm-hmm.
And why can't we just leave the great memories in the past? They've been singles wrestlers. They built up their own respective careers. They don't need to be Edge and Christian, and we don't need to see them be Edge and Christian because it's not the same Edge and Christian. We're not going to get the 5-second poses. We're not going to get the silly kazoos and the glasses and in the goofy Edge and Christian. These are two totally different guys from the day they started as Edge and Christian to today. I want to see them go off on their paths. Maybe sometimes they cross each other in the back. Maybe one makes a save for each other to make us remember, I got what I needed with the hug. Let's just leave it at that.
No, and that's fair, and I don't disagree with that either. And I don't want to see them making title runs and doing TLC matches. Like, Jesus, no. But I think the idea that because they both were gone for a long time, because of injuries, because of their past together, them getting that one last little bit of a couple of matches, I think there's a fun story to tell of, like, you know, the comeback that they had to both do. And again, like, I know we're living in a COVID era right now, but like when stuff eventually opens up, to me, Edge and Christian match is a Saudi show type of match. It's a when you do those kind of special shows.
And by the way, there will be a Saudi. What I believe, I thought I heard, it could be wrong. There will be a Saudi pay-per-view at some point this year.
Yeah, and I don't love that they do those, but like the shows where you're doing something just because it's for fun and because it's a dream match type of situation. But yeah, they don't need to be making a tag title run or anything. Just give me 3 or 4 matches with give me them and the Street Profits, give me them and the Usos, give me them in the New Day, and then I'm done.
Well, back to the Edge thing, I can see that to me, just to foreshadow a little bit, I think they're going to end up giving Edge and Bryan a run. Not even if it's not for a title or anything like that. If they do it before Mania, that would make sense. Just because that's something Edge has even said. He's always wanted to work with Bryan. Everybody wants to work with Daniel Bryan. He's one of the best there is. You know.
To answer Dennis, I don't think you are right. We certainly don't need to have Edge and Christian back as a tag team. That's absolutely not necessary. But if them coming back together as a team means there's actual focus and care put into the tag team division in WWE, I'm certainly not opposed to that. And it would suck if that's what it takes is to get a tag team from the Attitude Era to come back to have there be some actual care put into that dumb division. But if we're able to at least get a few good matches out of it, no tag title run, but at least 2, 3, 4 matches at the most, I'm fine with that.
All right. So the wrestling was really good, but we've been talking about Rumble and Lars Sullivan and stuff. What is the one thing for you guys that stood out for the week that was other than the Rumble?
Other than the Rumble matches or the pay-per-view?
Other than the pay-per-view. I'm excluding the pay-per-view. I'm saying with how the week for me works is that NXT's the first is like a Monday for me, and then Monday Night Raw is like the last day.
You're talking WWE.
I'm talking across the board. Across the board.
I'll go ahead.
This isn't going to get a whole lot of traction because it's lower level, but I want to give props to Jordan Oliver for doing a 2-hour Iron Man match in that 24-hour Fight Forever thing. That was crazy. I could not, like, that dude is going to be a star when people start seeing him. But I'm excited for the tag battle royal that AEW is doing because we keep seeing like the fact that Young Bucks are in that and they get to pick their opponent. It didn't say that it had to be an opponent from the Rumble or from the Battle Royal match. They keep teasing all this Bullet Club stuff. I would love to see Young Bucks win that tag team Battle Royal and go, we're calling out GOD. Get the Tongas over there. That would be awesome.
That forbidden door keeps teasing it. For me, it's just the fact that it is official. We're going to get Kenta and Moxley. That's happening. That that is a huge thing. I've got a friend of mine on Twitter, Lindsay, who is over the moon about it. And and now that match is happening, now she's putting all of her focus on getting a Christian Big E match. But yeah, the fact that match is finally happening, and once it happens, we'll stop getting questions of when will Moxley drop the title? When will Moxley drop the title? Because I fully believe Mox is going to drop the title to Kenta. So
could have had this
that.
one, Vince. Vince could have had this match.
Yeah, but I do got to get going, guys. But that's my answer. Kenta Mox is finally happening. I will check that out.
All right. Have a good day at work.
Oh yeah. See you later.
Bye. What about you, Dennis?
You know what? I will say for me, it's Jay White coming back. I think us smart wrestling guys knew that he was under contract for about 7 years. That was the rumor. And I kind of tend to believe that that's the truth. You know what? New Japan did an amazing job of making all of us forget about that. I mean, I think some of us actually believed we could see Jay White in the Royal Rumble. I mean, I didn't, but there was a lot of buzz. So having Jay White come back, having Jay White maybe reignite the Bullet Club, because I think we all are curious as to when the Bullet Club will be involved with AEW Impact, because they have to be at some point. And when that happens, I think that's going to be the true game changer. And only when there are fans will I want to see that. But Jay White for me is that missing piece to make me believe that the Bullet Club is almost, I wouldn't say back to, the top of the industry where they were when they had Prince and when they had the Bucks and all those guys and Omega. But you know what? They moved up to where they were.
I think for me, and it was just a slide thing, is Cross's promo that he put out, the video promo on his Twitter. The only reason why everybody's like, well, that doesn't anything huge is that what was underneath the Twitter, and it was Randy saying, come on, let's make some money, let's have a beer. That is a hint. That is something that they're probably going to consider to give Randy now that Edge is out of the circle once he passes the Fiend. I wouldn't mind seeing, as much as I'm going to get hell for this, Randy, even though there's no NXT ties to it other than Hunter, he could go down and say he wants to fight Hunter, and Hunter's always down at NXT like what Seth did, and Cross basically stands up in front of him to stop him from going after Hunter. Kind of like that whole thing. But that's just me fantasy booking. But I would love to see those two. And that's foreshadowing right there that, Orton wants that match. He sees money in Cross.
I would love to see that. But I do know those guys have gone back and forth on Twitter at each other a couple times over the last couple of years. So I don't look too much into that, but I mean, sign me up for that match. I'd watch it for sure.
All right. So how big of a gamers are you guys?
I'm mostly Call of Duty.
You said duty. I quote every time I hear Call of Duty or duty, I have to quote that line from Wreck-It Ralph because the 2-year-old inside kind of laughs. So yeah, SportsCenter posted out a thing about EA today saying that which video game would you guys revive for franchise? MVP Baseball, NBA Ballers, or SSX? Which out of the three would you guys revive into the current gen?
Oh, see, that's not where I thought you were going. I thought you were going with the NCAA football announcement because that's coming back if you didn't see that.
No, I was going to touch on that afterwards, but I wanted to do something that ties this into it. Yeah.
For me, it's MVP Baseball. I loved MVP Baseball. I was not much. My NBA taste stopped in the 90s. Larry Johnson. I mean, outside of
Grandmama.
Yeah, that's about when it stopped. You occasionally check in. I'm a Celtics guy, but
yeah.
So NBA Ballers. I mean, NBA Jam might have been more my speed. I'm probably older than you guys.
I'll be 40 in what's the second? About 25 days.
I'm 31.
Okay, well, you're a kid. I'm 43, so I'm 10 years on you as far as my video game taste. So MVP Baseball, yes. Ballers, I don't think I was a fan of the Ballers franchise.
I think for me, it's MVP. Especially that one that they're showing on there for the revised cover, and it had Manny on it.
That was
if
through the stadiums.
Yeah, it literally, like, if you were, and that was after '04. That was after the '04 World Series. They had him as the MVP cover. That was a major thing because that was the closest thing as a baseball fan for it to having Madden, because there wasn't really that many predominant, baseball games, and EA was just picking every property they could. But God, that game was so good and so built. And Anakin said to me, he's like, well, why would it matter? We're going to get the show on the Xbox. I'm like, well, for me, if they kept it with all these retro gamings that people have been playing recently, Fightful Gaming's been playing a lot of retro gaming, stuff like that. I wouldn't mind getting MVP Baseball 2005 and play that again and just put it on some retro station. I wouldn't mind doing that because it's fun. It's something different. You're not watching Among Us. You're not watching certain games. Trust me, I'm addicted to the Uno game that's online now. But still, I mean, for certain baseball games, I was heavily into that game. Like, literally, my mom had to take that controller out of my hand, and that was on the GameCube too.
The GameCube.
Oh, I'm old enough to remember the ColecoVision.
Yeah, sad.
Ray's like, what is that? An artifact?
No, I'm pretty well versed on the video games as a historian. I pay attention to the older stuff too. So, but yeah, I'm excited for the NCAA stuff to come back. I didn't really play any of those 3 games that you mentioned, but as far as baseball, I do like the show. I think that's a good one. As far as relaunches go, the Tony Hawk redo that they did about a year ago, that actually was really good. I was pretty happy with how they did that one. So,
all right. So going into baseball a little bit, kind of sad here in Boston. Dennis is a transplant, but he originally is from the Boston area. Dustin Pedroia retiring. So what are your thoughts on that?
I love the guy. I had a chance to interview him a few years ago. Phenomenal guy, huge wrestling fan too, believe it or not.
No, I believe it.
So he gave me some time, didn't have to. I will always appreciate that. The guy just was a baller, went out and played every day. But unfortunately, Father Time is undefeated. It was his time to go, and I wish I could say he went out on top. He had a few down seasons, but you know what? The good outweighed the bad.
I got lucky living in Lowell as long as I have because of the Lowell Spinners. And yes, that is a throwback reference because they're no longer here. It's sad because of the fact that the Red Sox took away their single A minor affiliation. A lot of the, they're going, a lot of the MLBs going that way, where they're taking the short A seasons away from cities and towns. But, the Red Sox are accommodating, the city of Lowell and helping them out. They want to keep something here for development, and which is great. I got the luxury to actually watch Dustin play his part of his minor league career here in Lowell for a short season with, John Lester, and a few others. And a lot of times, I would walk by him and I'm like, damn, I'm tall. It's the one time I could pull the Sean Ross Sapp standing tall thing. I'm like 6 feet and I'm like, wow, he's literally like a couple inches shorter than me. But the guy is the nicest guy in the community. A lot of the families that were, they would let certain of these players live with them during the short A season, take care of them, do their laundry, stuff like that, because they were living in the college dorms for the time being, just for accommodations. You would hear nothing nice things about these families talking about them. And one of them that I knew literally was like, oh, Dustin would come over and, mow my lawn for me, take my kids out for dinner and stuff like that when I needed to go out for work or anything, all these nice things and stuff. And one of the stories the family told me is that back then is he would be sitting there watching Monday Night Raw with their son, literally yelling at the TV. So, I mean, I think Dustin is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think he's a third or fourth, but I think literally in that era, if he wasn't up in 07 when he did, there would be no World Series.
I agree.
They don't put anybody in the Hall of Fame anymore.
Well, next year they will. They'll put Ortiz as the first ballot Hall of Famer. And it got quiet when I said that. I mean, if you had to put them in as a first ballot Hall of Famer, who would you put first, Gronk or Ortiz?
Ooh. I go Ortiz, I think. Ortiz meant more to the Boston Red Sox than Gronk did to the New England Patriots.
I think for me, it would be Ortiz. There's only one person in history after the marathon bombings in Boston that changed the complexity of the city with just a few words. This is my bleeping city. Yep. That line he said, the bleeping city, it changed the entire complexity of the city. It changed the entire complexity of baseball that year. And literally they got hot and nobody touched him. I mean, he could be, I could say this for Pedroia compared to him. Pedroia had 4 titles underneath him and Ortiz had 3. And the reason why I'm saying, they both had 3 each. Sorry, I forgot. I was trying to get in my head my time frame. But Pedroia only played for 2. The 18 one, he was kind of like a bench coach. But the thing I'm hoping to see is what they do with the new management now that, spring training is coming around the corner, or they just probably save some money off the books with, Pedroia being retired. So what are you guys looking forward to with the MLB season coming up down the pike?
I live in Michigan. I have the Tigers. So I got that going for me. No, the Tigers are terrible, but they'll get there. They're on that 5-year rebuild plan.
Every year.
Yeah. we had a run, but we're not there.
God, that's tough because the last couple years with baseball, they started tinkering with it, and I equate it to hockey, where I used to be a massive, massive hockey guy. Then they got rid of this line and made the net smaller, and and they changed the game for more scoring. And when someone has to tamper with the game to change how it's played, I lose interest. And now they're kind of doing it with baseball with the DH. I liked one league with the DH and one league without. It separated them, made them different. I liked that there was no time limits on baseball games because I felt like if I went and got extra innings, I got my money's worth. I liked how free baseball was. And now they're starting to tamper with it, and it's kind of killing my fandom a little bit.
They've been trying to tinker with the pitch count and stuff like that. I'm a little different. Obviously you grew up the same era what I did. It was more of a privilege to go to Fenway Park than anything. I'm hoping when fans do come back, and if I have extra cash and things like that, I promised Sean that I would take him to a Red Sox game or show him Fenway Park or something. That's one of the things he's always wanted to do. As just a friend, having the access to be able to, go to Fenway whenever I feel like it. The thing is that compared to that, and then when the Garden, oh my God, I missed that building, the old Boston Garden, when that was up, that was like the end all of be all for somebody who grew up in this area. But for me, I want to see what MLB does to make the product better, but make it tastefully better. Not like, oh, we're going to end up a pitch clock because, the casual fan's not watching it because they're short attention span. I could sit in front of a TV and watch a baseball game the entire length of it, but I like actually sitting at Fenway or standing on the Monster and actually enjoying the smells, the feeling, how the crowd sways and stuff like that. And the only difference is, especially on the Monster seats, I don't know if Dennis has been on those at all.
Not the Monster seats, no.
It's different. It's a different outlook because you're literally, it's like the best way I could, you've been to the old Garden, right?
Yes.
It's the same feeling. You're literally leaning over on top of the people off of the left field.
Oh man.
I was in the standing room, but the usher let me go up to the front, and you felt like you're literally right on top of that person. And there's nothing like that feeling. And I like that feeling. I've never been to a Pats game. I've been to a Bruins game. I went to one before the pandemic hit, and the Garden now still has that old feeling of the old Garden. It's just, it's just all hot, brighter and all that stuff instead of dingier and, well, smellier and stuff. But it's one of those things. It's like, I want that feeling. I want to go to a show and a sporting event, and I feel like I'm literally on top of the people of these athletes, and literally just get that feeling where it's just that grittiness. I think I'm that kind of an old school soul where it's like, I like the way the old Garden was, and I'd rather have something like that than just having like an open field kind of thing where you're just like far away from everything. It's
here's how much of a Red Sox fan I am. I hope the Mets lose. That's how bad I don't like New York. And I don't know if I could ever date a woman that is a Mets fan. So if you're a woman out there and you're slightly interested in me, which I don't know why you'd be watching a wrestling podcast, just say no to the Mets.
Yeah, that says a lot. NFL wise, the drafts, you got, I'm trying to think. Isn't the combine coming up in about 3 weeks?
I don't think they're having a combine this year.
I think they're doing it a little weird, a little different. I don't know what the details are, but I think they're doing something.
I'm one of those geeks that actually would sit there and watch the combine just for the fun of it, because there's nothing usually on in that point.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But I mean, that's to me is the sign of the new season, and I can't wait for that. Aaron said there's no combine, but it's all virtual, he thinks. I think that it's going to be an interesting draft this year with the Stafford trade, and I wanted to get Dennis's thoughts on that. It changes the complexity of all the trades in the NFL just because, a good example, the Patriots don't have an official hardcore QB because Newton's back on the market. Rumors are saying Deshaun Jackson might end up being a Patriot, but I don't think that would be a good fit considering after everything with Cam, where look how it ended with Cam. I mean, do you think who do you think is the next domino to go in the NFL for free agency or trade or something like that?
You know what? I think Watson is going to be the last guy moved. If I'm Texans and I've made a couple bad trades, I mean, trading Hopkins to Arizona for a injured running back who was 31 years old at the time and has had two knee surgeries. I'm sitting back and I'm waiting to see what this market looks like. The Lions, I think, stole golf in the first round picks, and this might be a hopefully changing of the times if you're a Lions fan. I'm a Pats guy, but I had the privilege of doing the Detroit Lions pregame show for many years with Herman Moore. So I've kind of I've had an appreciation for the Lions. Yeah, I've been pretty lucky in my podcasting career, but I will say this. I don't think Watson will end up in Miami. I think Miami would be dumb to pay the price. They're a rebuilding team. They're on the cusp of doing something good. And then to set the team back a couple years with giving up draft picks and some young players just to get Watson, I think will set them behind. Tua is a good enough quarterback that he can take you over the hump as he matures. I don't think the Pats will pay the price for a stud quarterback in this market. I think they'll just end up drafting one as always, and this will be the guy we cheer for the next 10 years.
I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm going backwards on father time a little bit, that the Niners decide to give up on Gruffalo. Sorry. And literally maybe Gruffalo decides, hey, there's a spot in New England. Sometimes just like these coaches, some of these players do decide to come back. That's me just hoping and wishing. But I think for this offense, I think they need somebody that is like a regular throwing quarterback, not a running quarterback. It doesn't seem to fit out completely. The only anomaly out of that was, was the with I keep forgetting his name. the quarterback they had on their third string for a couple of years, but that was in Indiana for a while. I can't remember off the top of my head, but that was the only difference.
Kobe Brissett.
Yeah, Brissett.
Yeah.
I think
he was NC State, but yeah.
I think that's the only difference. I do agree with Dennis. They need to draft a quarterback for the future, especially since Matt Patricia's back on the defensive side.
Have fun.
As much as everybody's like have fun, but look at it, he did give us a couple of Super Bowls too. The talent's there for on the defensive side, and I'm old school. Defense wins championships. You could have a shitty quarterback. I mean, look at past quarterbacks that got into the Super Bowl but had freaking phenomenal defenses. It could happen. Lightning can strike.
I agree.
Other than that, I mean, this is pretty much what we've been talking about for the whole time. I figured cover a little bit of everything tonight. Might as well talk a little bit about hockey. How about them Bruins?
Yeah. I mean, that's all you can really say at this point. The season's still young. I tell you, I look around the NHL, and I'll be honest, guys. I think, and I'm going to change this a little bit, and I want to kind of bring this slightly back to wrestling. But if you look at all the sports in wrestling, I think wrestling has gotten it right in the pandemic as far as entertaining fans, especially on TV, since a lot of these don't have fans. But you look at the NHL, I think football did a good enough job, but the NFL is still the NFL. But, I'm glad I'm doing a show with you guys, because there's a question I wanted to ask was, over the last calendar year to today, if you had to present one sport, something like wrestling, an MVP award, who would get it for you guys?
Hockey.
As far as the sport specifically?
As sport is just like the viewing and getting
right over COVID.
It would be the NHL for me. Like just because of the fact that with COVID hitting and stuff, baseball was just getting into the swing of it and everything. Football wasn't even in play yet. And basketball was trying to figure out what to do with the whole COVID situation and stuff. But when they put hockey in that bubble, I was addicted to it. I literally kept checking the scores. I kept checking everything. Being a Bruins fan, I was trying to see who was where and who was healthy and stuff. I would listen to some of the sports stations here. I think hockey did it right, and I think they're still building on that. And if you had to pick between watching anything, I think hockey did it really well.
I loved that hockey had afternoon games, and not just on the weekend, but sometimes a guy wants to play hooky from work and watch sports. And hockey kind of gave you that, hey, there's a 2:00 game, especially during the playoffs when there was a morning game, an afternoon game, and an evening game. I thought that was amazing.
I thought it was great because days off I would be sitting there watching a hockey game. It made it so much easier for me as a fan, and I think it brought casual fans on there. What do you think, Ray?
So for my hockey, I'll be honest. I'm one of those people where
he's cutting those people promos.
Yeah. So we're very common here in Michigan where we are Red Wing fans, not necessarily hockey fans. And the Red Wings haven't been very good the last couple of years. So my attention to it hasn't, I don't really know enough about how they did things, but I did hear good things about it. I like the bubble idea. I thought the NFL should have done a bubble for the playoffs. And then once the team's done, they can just leave. But I think that would have been smart. But I think as far as other leagues, you mentioned wrestling might need a little bit of hey, you're doing this right. Because I know WWE's had some issues with how their COVID stuff went. But from what I heard, ROH did really, really good stuff. I know that what Impact has been doing has been pretty good too. So I think you're right in that sense that wrestling, the industry, maybe not WWE specifically, does deserve a little bit of credit on how they've done this. So
So going back to wrestling, since we just leaned up that before we wrap everything up, I already got Ray's thoughts about the Peacock deal, but Dennis, what's your thoughts of WWE selling the rights to Universal NBC?
You know what? Not to shoot anything here, but we had Tommy Dreamer on the podcast earlier last week, and
Man.
I lucky, I know. And he said one thing that really stuck out to me, that if you thought Vince McMahon was old and washed up and didn't know what he was doing, he's the only guy during the pandemic being handed $1 billion. And that, yeah.
They're wrong.
So, you know what? As far as a guy that streams, and I was a fan of The Office, but I couldn't justify spending the money to get the Peacock to watch The Office.
Mhm.
I think this has kind of done me a favor. And I think if you're a wrestling fan and you're complaining about this, you're an idiot. You are an idiot. Now I don't know what you guys' take on this is, but right now for $9.99, I just get the WWE network. Now for $9.99, I get everything on NBC and the WWE network. And you want to complain? You guys are idiots.
I think for me, like I stated, that because being from Massachusetts, every town in Massachusetts for the most part has a contract with NBC Universal through Xfinity Comcast. So part of my cable bill, I get Peacock Premium, just part of my package. So it's like, oh great, nothing's changed except we bought a gift card and we don't know what to do with it. So our membership it ended already, so we just put that on there anyway. But I'm just excited because there's so much, and they're going to be doing sporting show stuff on there and everything. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with NXT, considering the fact that with hockey moving over to USA eventually, that's going to happen. So, I mean, for me, I wouldn't be surprised if they put more of the NXT USA shows on a weekly basis on the Peacock network for a little while off and on. And then you get your takeovers on NBC. I mean, that could be an idea to get the casual fan on top of that and say, hey, and then flash the Peacock logo on it. So,
I don't hate that idea.
Yeah.
I mean, more money you're spending and more money in their pockets. That's how it is. So last thing we'll cover, I wanted to say this. A story out of Wilmington, Massachusetts states that a guy had won, and I said this on the Fightful thing when they were talking about this, the GameStop stock rise won got $44 million out of it, and then lost money through it. Recently just gave a bunch of kids Nintendo Switches at a cancer place. So I'm pointing that out, that there's always somebody that's doing a good deed. So that's why you need to pay it forward. But that's pretty much what we're doing for tonight, because these guys, it's getting late. It's about 9:30 here. So Dennis, tell them where they can find you, my friend. And thank you, by the way.
Oh, I mean, I appreciate the invite. Hopefully in the next few weeks, I can have one of my cooler co-hosts come on and talk to you guys. But listen, if you like wrestling podcasts, go check out Wrestling Perspective. We just launched our YouTube channel, and you can check out some great interviews. I think right now is we just put out today is our Rich Swann interview. We have, like I said, Dreamer. We have John Silver up there. It's some great stuff, some fun conversations. I do it with two former Major League Baseball All-Stars, Jason Kendall, Dimitri Young, Lars Fredrickson from the band Rancid, if you're a punk guy, Darren McCarty, 4-time Stanley Cup winner from the Detroit Red Wings, and Impact Wrestling's Petey Williams. So,
yeah, and Ray, where they can find you.
First, that's super impressive. Like that's a list of people right there. But if you're looking for a less significant person, you can find me on Twitter at AngryBeaver1127. I do wrestling prediction shows before pay-per-views, just kind of throwing my own little here's what I would do situations out there. So give those a watch, a thumbs up, a like, whatever. Follow me on Twitter. But yeah, that's where you can find me. AngryBeaver1127.
We got watch along starting to develop, being planned for the chamber. Dennis, you're more welcome to watch the chamber with us if you want. Have a little fun and yell at Anakin for a couple hours. Why not?
He's a good kid.
He's a good kid. It's me. There's so much like a little brother kind of thing where you could just make fun of it. I mean, probably gonna have Rob Wilkins on there. I'm gonna see what he's doing. Other than that, birthday week's gonna be big that week. The Tuesday show is gonna be great, and then we're gonna do a 40th birthday party for me live on air. God help me. God help me. But check out Wrestling Perspective. Always great stuff. Hopefully I can get on that with them some point, and vice versa. But I want to do a lot more. Check out the Wicked Crazy Crew TV. Hard launch is coming up soon. Trying to work on the podcast stuff. Probably going to see if Tad's available. Not Taz, Tad. He does a lot of stuff out in England. And then we got to get Ray on eventually if time permits. But, do a good deed, pay for it. Check out Sisters Custom Designs. If they're still on, I wish we could do the Twitch thing where we raid somebody. Go raid Fightful Gaming right now. They're watching Impact right now. Follow Dennis, and Wrestling Perspective. The handle's right there, ticketing down the line. Other than that, I know Ray's jealous about the whole Winter Classic thing.
Yeah, that's cool.
So do a good deed, pay it forward. Any last remarks or any questions you guys have?
No, I'm super thankful that you guys invited me on and opened up the doors, and this has been fun.
Yeah, like I said, it's an open door policy. So if you just want to come in and hang out, just pop in or DM me or something like that, you can.
Yeah.
But hopefully we could do something more stuff down the line, because I wouldn't mind hanging out with you guys on my days off and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it would be fun, because that way, if you're on and Dimitri, we could talk about how bad the Red Sox were when he was around. Or I'm obviously New England. You're a huge sports fan. The only thing I wish I got to watch was MLS, and just because of the Revs, I really wanted to go to a Revs game just to see it. But hope everybody has fun. Check out, like I said, Sisters Custom Designs. Listing your girl tomorrow with Sean and Denise Alcedo, and then you've got the Wednesday Night Wars. Other than that, do a good deed. Like I said, pay it forward. Have a good night, guys.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.
All right.